In this episode of the Birth Without Pain podcast, we're going to talk about how surrendering to each contraction can help you have a pain-free birth. So when you think about having contractions, what do you feel? Are you feeling afraid of contractions? Do you feel like you dread contractions? Do you feel like they are painful and they only get more and more painful as labor progresses up into the point to where you can almost not stand them anymore? How are you actually thinking and feeling about contractions when you think to that moment when you are in labor and you're having your baby? What do you think about? And so the goal would be to think about them and not feel any fear or doubt or dread or that they're going to be painful without, don't have the anticipation or belief that they have to be painful, because they don't have to be. It's just muscles contracting, just like when you exercise, it's contracting. So it's basically the same thing, and it doesn't have to be painful whenever you prepare for them and you're thinking about them the correct way. Well, I don't want to say correct way, but the way that will help you have a pain-free birth. And so when you feel fear towards them, you're going to tense up. And when you tense up during labor, you are going to have pain. Okay? So I'm sorry for all these distractions in the background. Like, this is the only quiet place away from my kids right now. My husband's watching them to be able to record this. But so when you feel fear, you're going to tense up. So if you can prepare yourself ahead of time to understand and to have that anticipation that contractions don't have to hurt, then it's going to help you minimize or not have any pain at all when the time comes. Okay? So I'll tell you a little bit about my story of my fourth birth. It was a home birth, and the only birth that I didn't have, trauma and terrible pain. But there was a point where I felt very strong contractions. I was laboring in the birth pool, and I had that moment of like, whoa, can I handle this? So I wasn't feeling any pain, but if I had continued that thinking, it would have led to pain. But I was like, oh my goodness, I am getting, either close to the baby being born, or these are just getting very intense, because I could feel the contraction, but not pain. So it's hard to even imagine that in a way if you have had, painful experiences in the past like I have, because I knew that at that point of labor, I would have been having extreme pain with my contractions in the past. And so I was feeling that really intensity without the pain. And I had the thought of, or I think the enemy planted this thought in my mind, but it was, you should have just went to the hospital and got the epidural. Because that's an original thought I had when I found out I was going to have another baby, because I was afraid of birth. And so he was bringing that back to my attention or back to my mind in that moment. And I was like, I'm not even having pain. No, I shouldn't have went to the hospital. And in that moment where I almost gave into the fear, I was like, no, God is my epidural. And so it got me through that. And it was like rebuking the devil, like, nice try, but God's the one doing this. So you don't even have a chance. It's not just about me and my strength. It's about God's strength and his abilities. So take that. And so one thing that really helped me with leaning into these contractions instead of, being afraid of them and kind of tensing up with them and dreading the next one and wondering if the next one is going to have pain and stuff, was I was constantly saying in my head and sometimes out loud, surrender, surrender, surrender. So they were intense enough to breathe through them and to focus. And I knew that if I was to give in to pain, not pain, but fear, that it would cause pain. I knew that going into it. So I kept telling myself, surrender, surrender, surrender. I would feel my muscles start to kind of tense up, and I was like, no, surrender, relax, you're okay, relax. And so I just told myself that over and over again when I would, even if it was just like my feet that would tense up or my hands, whatever. My jaw, because your jaw has a lot to do with, how, I guess you could call it loose you are everywhere else. And so if your jaw is tense, your body's going to be tense. So saying that to yourself over and over, you just need that reminder. Surrender, surrender. It's okay. Relax. So just keep in mind, Jesus loosed you from pain. You do not have to feel pain during labor and birth. He loosed that when he died on the cross for you. And so keep that in mind too. And you can use that to rebuke the enemy if he comes for you and tries to get into your mind during labor and birth. No, Jesus loosed me from this. I do not have to have pain, so goodbye. I rebuke you. You must leave because it's in Jesus' name. So just know that you can absolutely have a pain-free birth. It is something that you can prepare for now if you're pregnant, or even if you're not pregnant, you can still prepare for this for the future. And even if you are really close to having your baby, I didn't start this with my fourth baby until I think I only had 4 months of pregnancy left. And so I prepared during that 4 months and it worked for me. And so it can work for you as well. So I believe in you. I'm here to support you. My name is Sierra Cook, and you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram at sierra.m.cook. And please reach out to me and connect with me. If you're believing for a pain-free birth, I want to hear from you. I want to believe with you and pray for you. So I will talk to you on the next video.